Most people believe that in order to change their lives, they need to set better goals. They spend hours writing resolutions, visualizing success, and dreaming of a future where everything finally falls into place. But what if that entire mindset is flawed? What if the real key to long-term success is not about goals at all, but about systems? In Atomic Habits, James Clear presents a transformative idea. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Goals are good for setting direction, but systems are what get you there. This shift in thinking, away from outcome obsession and toward process optimization, has the power to change not just your results, but your identity. Think about it. Two people want to run a marathon. One sets a goal to complete the race in 6 months. The other builds a system, waking up at 6 a.m. every morning, running a little farther each week, resting properly, and eating right. Who's more likely to succeed? The one with the process. The one who shows up every day, not just the one who dreams big. Clear identifies 3 key problems with relying on goals alone. First, winners and losers often have the same goals. Every Olympic athlete wants to win gold. Every entrepreneur wants to build a successful company. And every student wants to graduate with honors. The goal is not what distinguishes them. Their habits and systems are. Second, achieving a goal only changes your life for a moment. If your goal is to clean your messy room, you can do it today. But if you don't change the habits that created the mess, the clutter will return within days. Goals are one-time events. Systems are what sustain change over time. Third, goals can actually restrict your happiness. Many people think, I'll be happy when I lose weight, or I'll feel successful once I earn 6 figures. This mindset pushes joy into the future and creates a constant feeling of inadequacy in the present. Worse, even if you reach your goal, what comes next? Without a system, progress ends the moment the finish line is crossed. So what exactly is a system? A system is a set of repeated actions aligned with your identity and values. It's what you do every day, even when motivation runs dry. Systems remove the pressure to be perfect. They replace willpower with structure. They make progress inevitable. Take fitness as an example. Saying, I want to lose 10 pounds might inspire you for a week or two. But saying, I exercise every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I cook healthy meals 5 times a week, gives you a plan. It removes ambiguity. It becomes a lifestyle. Or think about writing. You can set a goal to write a best-selling book. But if you don't sit down and write consistently, that goal is just a wish. A better approach is, I write 500 words every morning at 7 a.m. That's a system. That's what writers do. Even with finances, the same logic applies. I want to save $10,000 this year sounds impressive. But I automatically transfer 15% of every paycheck into a savings account is what builds wealth, without decision fatigue or constant self-control. The most powerful systems are those built on identity. When habits align with who you believe you are, they stick. This is the essence of identity-based habits. Instead of saying, I want to read more, say, I am a reader. Instead of I want to run a marathon, say, I am a runner. Every small action becomes a vote for that identity. Each workout, each chapter you read, each healthy meal reinforces who you are becoming. Over time, your identity shifts. Not through dramatic change, but through consistent reinforcement. James Clear outlines 4 simple laws for building effective systems. Make it obvious. Make it attractive. Make it easy. Make it satisfying. If you want to build a reading habit, put the book where you'll see it, on your pillow. Read while sipping tea you love. Start with 2 pages. Check off your habit tracker afterward. These small tweaks turn friction into flow. They make the right actions natural, not forced. What's remarkable is that these small systems compound over time. Success doesn't come from one big leap. It comes from hundreds of tiny steps taken consistently. Just like compound interest in a bank account, small habits grow exponentially. You may not notice a difference after a few days or even weeks. But stick with it, and the results will seem to arrive all at once, as if out of nowhere. This is why focusing on systems is also the antidote to burnout. When you rely on motivation alone, every day feels like a battle. But when your systems are in place, you don't need to feel inspired to take action. You just do it, because it's what you do. You brush your teeth, you make your bed, you exercise. No drama, no struggle, just rhythm. So how do you know if your system is working? Don't ask yourself, am I at my goal yet? Ask, am I becoming the kind of person who gets the results I want? If the answer is yes, your system is working. Even if the scale hasn't moved, the book isn't finished, or the savings account isn't full. Because progress lives in the process, not the prize. In conclusion, goals can be useful. They give us direction. But if you truly want to change your life, stop chasing outcomes and start building systems. The real transformation happens not when you achieve something once, but when you become the kind of person who achieves it over and over again without needing to force it. And that begins with showing up today, not to reach a goal, but to become someone new. In the next lesson, we'll explore the profound power of small improvements and how just 1% better every day can lead to extraordinary results. Because it's not just about starting big, it's about starting small and never stopping. We often imagine that dramatic change requires dramatic action. If we want to lose weight, we think we need to completely overhaul our diet overnight. If we want to get fit, we convince ourselves that we have to join a gym, wake up at 5 a.m., and train like an athlete. But what if the true engine of meaningful change isn't intensity, but consistency? What if it's not about giant leaps forward, but small steps repeated daily? In Atomic Habits, James Clear presents a concept that is as simple as it is powerful. Getting just 1% better every day can transform your life. Not immediately, not tomorrow, but eventually and inevitably. Let's break it down. If you improve by 1% every day for an entire year, you don't become 365% better. Because of the power of compounding, you become 37 times better. That's 3,700% improvement. In contrast, if you decline by 1% daily for a year, you virtually hit zero. This is the power of small habits, positive or negative, compounding over time. It's easy to dismiss small improvements because they don't feel important in the moment. Reading 2 pages doesn't make you smarter today. Doing 10 push-ups doesn't change your body. Saving $5 doesn't make you rich. But habits are not about what you achieve right now. They are about what you become over time. This is why many people quit early. They expect instant results. They work out for a week, step on the scale, and see nothing. They write for a month and get no followers, so they give up. But meaningful results are often delayed. In the early days, your effort builds a foundation beneath the surface. Then, like an ice cube that melts only when the room crosses 32 degrees, visible change happens after enough pressure builds, not before. James Clear calls this phenomenon the plateau of latent potential. It's the space between effort and result, the valley where people usually quit. If you understand this, you'll be more patient. you'll know that progress is still happening, even if it's not visible yet. Your job is simply to keep showing up, to stay in motion. Let's take an example. Imagine improving your focus by 1% every day. Today you can concentrate for 10 minutes. Tomorrow it becomes 10 minutes and 6 seconds. Not much. But repeat that process. Within weeks, you'll double your capacity. Within months, you'll be the kind of person others call disciplined or focused. Not because of one big change, but because of dozens of tiny ones, repeated. This principle applies everywhere. A musician who practices for 15 minutes daily will outgrow the one who practices inconsistently in long bursts. A writer who commits to 1 paragraph a day will eventually complete a book. A person who adds 1 more fruit or vegetable to their meals each week builds a sustainable, healthy diet. One of the key reasons why small habits work is that they are easy to sustain. They require little willpower. They don't intimidate us. And because they're easy, we're more likely to stay consistent. Consistency, not intensity, is the real driver of change. Consider how compound interest works in finance. If you invest a little every month, the amount may seem small at first. But over time, the interest earns interest. And eventually, your wealth grows faster than your effort. Habits work the same way. They are the compound interest of self-improvement. James Clear reminds us that time magnifies whatever you feed it. Good habits make time your ally. Bad habits make time your enemy. It's a double-edged sword. That's why small improvements, done consistently, are not optional. They're essential. Here's another important point. Small changes reshape your identity. Every time you follow through on a small habit, you reinforce a new version of yourself. Write 1 paragraph? You're a writer. Walk 10 minutes? You're someone who prioritizes health. Meditate for 1 minute? You're someone who seeks mindfulness. These tiny actions are not trivial. They are votes for the person you wish to become. That's why it's more important to be consistent than to be perfect. If you miss 1 day, it's fine. But never miss twice. Small lapses don't ruin the system. What matters is getting back on track immediately. Momentum is precious. Protect it. And here's a strategy to make it work. Reduce the scope, stick to the schedule. If you're tired, write 1 sentence. If you're busy, stretch for 30 seconds. If you're distracted, read 1 page. It doesn't matter how much you do, only that you show up. Repetition builds resilience. Frequency builds familiarity. Over time, these small actions stack up. 1 push-up becomes a workout. 1 sentence becomes a book. $1 becomes savings. And just as importantly, these changes happen without the burnout that comes from chasing perfection or demanding too much too soon. In a world obsessed with instant gratification, the idea of 1% improvement feels slow, but it's the most reliable path to mastery. It's not flashy. It doesn't go viral, but it works. Quietly, steadily, and permanently. In the end, success is not a single event. It's the result of daily disciplines. Change doesn't require revolution. It requires evolution. Slow, deliberate, repeated. The question isn't, did I transform today? The question is, did I show up and get just a little better? Because over time, a little better, done every day, becomes extraordinary. When most people try to change their behavior, they focus on outcomes. They say things like, I want to lose weight, I want to write a book, or I want to be more productive. But as James Clear explains in Atomic Habits, there is a deeper, more powerful level of change: identity. True transformation happens not when you focus on what you want to achieve, but on who you want to become. At the core of every habit is an identity. Your habits are not just actions. They are reflections of your beliefs about yourself. The more you repeat a behavior, the more you reinforce the identity behind it. When you write every day, even just a little, you're not just improving your writing skills, you're becoming a writer. When you work out regularly, you're not just burning calories, you're becoming an athlete. It's not just about results. It's about identity reinforcement. There are 3 layers to behavior change: outcomes, processes, and identity. Outcomes are the results you want, like losing weight or publishing a book. Processes are the systems and routines, like meal plans or daily writing. Identity is the core, your self-image and beliefs. Most people start from the outside in. They chase results, try to build a process, and hope that identity will follow. But lasting change happens from the inside out. Start by deciding who you want to become. Let that guide your habits. This is what James Clear calls identity-based habits. Instead of saying, "I want to read more books," say, "I am a reader." Instead of, "I want to run a marathon," say, "I am a runner." These aren't just labels. They are internal commitments. Every time you act in alignment with that identity, you cast a vote for it. You don't need unanimous votes to become someone new, just a majority over time. Let's imagine 2 people trying to quit smoking. When offered a cigarette, one says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." The other says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." The first is still identifying as a smoker, struggling against temptation. The second has shifted their identity. Their behavior aligns with who they believe they are, and that makes all the difference. Changing identity may sound abstract, but it starts with small, concrete actions. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. Each healthy meal, each journal entry, each walk around the block reinforces your new story. These small acts matter because they build internal proof. They are how you start believing new things about yourself. Of course, identity can also hold us back. If you believe, "I'm terrible with money," or "I'm just not a disciplined person," then no amount of budgeting apps or productivity hacks will stick. You'll self-sabotage to stay consistent with your identity. That's why the most powerful change is not in what you do, but in what you believe. So how do you change your identity? You don't need to fake it until you make it. You need to act like it until it becomes true. Behavior shapes belief. Want to be a reader? Open the book. Want to be calm? Take one deep breath. Want to be productive? Open your planner and plan one thing. Each action is a vote. Cast enough votes and the identity sticks. There's a beautiful loop at work here. Identity drives behavior. Behavior reinforces identity. It's a self-reinforcing cycle. That's why your focus should be on small, daily wins, not grand declarations. Don't aim to prove something to others. Prove something to yourself. James Clear also emphasizes the importance of self-evidence. We don't change by trying to convince ourselves with positive affirmations. We change by accumulating evidence that we are already becoming the new version of ourselves. That evidence comes from habit. It comes from showing up. So ask yourself, who is the type of person who could achieve the goals I want? Then start acting like that person, even in the smallest way. If you want to be a mindful person, don't wait to feel peaceful. Just sit quietly for 1 minute. If you want to be an organized person, clean one drawer. Don't wait to feel motivated. Identity is built through doing. This approach is powerful because it is rooted in long-term thinking. It doesn't depend on bursts of motivation. It doesn't require perfection. It is resilient to failure. If you mess up once, it doesn't erase your identity. It just means you're human. As long as you keep showing up, the votes keep adding up. Identity-based habits also protect you from burnout. When your actions are aligned with who you are, you no longer have to force yourself. You don't need to wake up and think, I have to go to the gym. You simply say, I'm a person who trains. There's less resistance, less drama, more flow. And finally, this method of habit building is deeply satisfying. You're not chasing something outside yourself. You're living in alignment with your values. You're becoming someone you respect. That's worth more than any number on the scale, any title on a resume, or any number of followers online. In the end, identity-based habits are not just about achieving goals. They're about transforming who you are at the core. When you change your identity, your behavior follows. And when your behavior changes, your life does too. When people struggle to build better habits, they often blame themselves. They say, I just lack discipline, or I need more willpower. But in truth, most behavior is not a result of motivation. It's a response to environment. We don't act based on who we want to be. We act based on what surrounds us. And that's why designing your environment might be the most powerful habit strategy of all. As James Clear explains in Atomic Habits, the environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. We like to believe we are in full control of our choices, but most decisions we make are automatic responses to visual, spatial, and emotional cues. If the candy jar is on the counter, we reach for it. If the TV remote is on the couch, we turn it on. But if the book is on your pillow, you're more likely to read before bed. Simple placement leads to massive change. We tend to think we need more motivation, when in fact, we need fewer triggers for distraction and more cues for the behaviors we want to adopt. If you constantly see your phone on your desk, you'll reach for it. If you keep junk food in the pantry, you'll snack on it. But if your gym shoes are right by the door, your mind associates that with movement. The best way to change behavior is not to change who you are, but to change where you are. This is the power of environment design. It's the act of deliberately shaping your surroundings to encourage good habits and discourage bad ones. And the beauty of this approach is that it doesn't rely on willpower. It removes the need for it. Let's look at some real examples. If you want to drink more water, place a full glass on your desk or carry a reusable bottle wherever you go. If you want to eat healthier, leave a bowl of fruit on the counter and hide the processed snacks in hard-to-reach places. Want to practice guitar more? Take it out of its case and put it in the middle of your room. These are not huge efforts, but they're incredibly effective because the cues are visual, frequent, and frictionless. Environment design also helps you reduce bad habits. Want to watch less TV? Unplug it. Remove the batteries from the remote. Want to scroll less on your phone? Turn it to grayscale. Move apps off your home screen. Log out after every use. Create obstacles, however small. Even a few extra seconds of friction can break the loop. Another powerful concept is habit zoning. This means assigning specific behaviors to specific places. The kitchen is for eating. The desk is for working. The bed is for sleeping. When each space has a clear function, your brain creates mental associations. It's easier to focus when you only do deep work in one area. It's easier to relax when your bedroom signals rest and not email checking. Unfortunately, many people live in mixed-use environments. They work from bed, eat in front of the TV, scroll on the couch. As a result, their mind lacks clear signals, and habits bleed into each other. Reclaiming control of your environment, even in small ways, restores clarity. Environment design doesn't require a big house or a lot of money. You can apply it anywhere. In a studio apartment, even placing a cushion in one corner and declaring it your reading zone can make a difference. In a shared house, a pair of noise-canceling headphones can become your signal for focus. What matters is not how big the space is, but how deliberately it's structured. It's also worth noting that digital environments matter just as much as physical ones. Your phone, your computer, your notifications. These are digital spaces filled with behavioral cues. If your phone lights up with every alert, it pulls your attention. But if you turn off notifications, organize your desktop, and use tools like website blockers, you regain control. You become the architect of your attention. Social environments matter too. Who you spend time with shapes your behavior more than you realize. If your friends value fitness, you're more likely to move. If your coworkers complain constantly, negativity spreads. That's why one of the most powerful upgrades is to surround yourself with people whose habits you admire. Your environment includes your relationships. James Clear puts it simply: environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. And once you understand this, you stop trying to force your way into better habits. You start creating spaces that naturally pull you in the right direction. You don't have to fight yourself anymore. You just need to walk into the right room. The goal of habit change is to make good behaviors obvious, easy, and attractive, and bad behaviors invisible, difficult, and unattractive. Environment design helps you do all three. It aligns your external world with your internal goals. In the end, your environment is either working for you or against you, whether you notice it or not. So stop blaming yourself. Start redesigning the world around you. Because when you do, good habits become inevitable, and bad habits fade without a fight. When people talk about success, they often focus on intensity. They admire the athlete who trains 8 hours a day. They celebrate the entrepreneur who pulls all-nighters. They praise the student who crams for 16 hours straight. But what if that's not the real secret? What if the people who succeed aren't the ones who work the hardest in bursts, but the ones who show up consistently, day after day, without fail? James Clear, in Atomic Habits, makes a powerful case. The secret to lasting success is not motivation or talent. It's consistency. It's the ability to do small things over and over again, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when no one is watching. You don't have to be extreme, you just have to be consistent. Most people start strong. They get excited about a new habit. They buy the gear, set the alarm, make a big plan. But then life happens. They miss one day, then two. Soon the habit is gone, not because they lacked ability, but because they didn't build rhythm. The truth is, you don't rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your consistency. Consistency is what turns actions into identity. You can't call yourself a writer if you only write once a month. But if you write every morning, even 100 words, the title fits. You don't need to go viral. You don't need to lift heavy. You just need to keep going. One reason consistency is so powerful is that it creates momentum. The more you do something, the easier it becomes to keep doing it. Skipping one workout might not ruin your progress, but breaking the rhythm does. It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up, even when the mood is gone. Especially when the mood is gone. This is where many people fall into the all or nothing trap. If they can't do the full routine, they do nothing. If they miss a day, they quit entirely. But the best performers have a different mindset. They reduce the scope, but they stick to the schedule. If you're tired, walk instead of run. If you're busy, write one sentence instead of a chapter. The habit still lives. The chain remains unbroken. James Clear writes, "Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new habit, the wrong one. That's why your job is not to be perfect. Your job is to never miss twice. Forgive yourself for slipping. Then return quickly. Consistency isn't about streaks, it's about resilience. Another myth is that consistent people are always motivated. That's false. What they have is a system. They don't wait for inspiration, they follow structure. It's in the calendar, it's in the routine. They remove decisions from the process. No more. Should I do this today? The answer is always yes, because it's automatic. You might think this sounds robotic, but it's actually freeing. When your habits are consistent, your mind is calm. You don't debate. You don't bargain with yourself. You don't waste energy starting over. You're always in motion, always compounding effort. Even a low-energy day contributes. Because habits don't care how you feel. They care that you show up. Let's take an example. Brushing your teeth. You don't need motivation. You just do it. Every morning, every night. That's what consistency feels like when a habit becomes part of your identity. It's not a task. It's who you are. Consistency also allows for long-term tracking and feedback. When you show up every day, you collect data. You learn what works and what doesn't. You make micro-adjustments. You improve with each iteration. Inconsistency doesn't allow this. You're always starting over, never building momentum, never refining the process. More importantly, consistency builds trust with yourself. Every time you keep a promise to show up, you strengthen belief in your own discipline. You stop relying on hype. You become reliable, predictable, steady. And in a world addicted to extremes, being steady is radical. It's also the key to avoiding burnout. Consistency doesn't mean pushing to the max. It means pacing yourself. It means rest days. It means understanding that sustainability beats intensity. Anyone can work hard for a day. Few can work wisely for a decade. There's a quiet dignity in showing up daily. It doesn't attract attention. It doesn't go viral. But it builds a foundation no one can take from you. While others chase hacks and shortcuts, you're putting in the reps. While they burn out and start over, you're building depth, skill, and resilience. So how do you build consistency? Start small. Make it easy. Make it obvious. Attach your habit to something you already do. Track your progress. Celebrate the fact that you showed up, not how impressive it was. And most of all, let go of perfection. You will have off days. You will miss occasionally. That's fine. But you are not what you do once. You are what you do repeatedly. In the end, consistency is the quiet engine of every success story. It's not glamorous, it's not flashy, but it's unstoppable. Because the person who shows up every day, even imperfectly, always outpaces the one who shows up only when conditions are perfect. So if you're tired of starting over, stop stopping. Just keep showing up.